Hi everyone, so I'm going to play a very short clip now that you can watch and then click off the video, but if you're interested, stay tuned for the full-length version. Cheers. So you can see I'm trying my best to just sort of stand still, and whenever I do like an I-frame, I generally try to dash forward, so it's just like right mouse click. That's just to make this as fair as possible, and there you go. We're like literally dashing into him. You can see it. He's pushing our character model out of the way in a certain sense. So that to me by itself is like conclusive evidence that you can I-frame corrosion effects. Right, good day everyone. We're going to be taking a detailed look into using invulnerability frames to avoid corrosion. So we need to clarify a few things. If you are using your elemental burst and you get hit during that like wind up phase in your elemental burst, like when the animation plays, the corrosion effect will apply. But you can still like avoid the corrosion effect by dodging. I've actually sort of marked this out on a couple of time frames, and I've been sort of looking at this on a frame by frame counter, so you can then follow like along with me. So the first example here is my character standing still. We are not doing anything. You can see here, right as the enemy tries to hit us, we are now going to quickly go down, and then you'll see here, so we sort of avoid all the corrosion damage. I think this should be an extremely clear example. There shouldn't be like any doubt as to the fact that we didn't take any damage here, but there's a couple of more examples that I've got. So we're just going to go through all of them, and hopefully by showing to you, by showing these things in like a variety of like circumstances, like in a frame by frame count, it will hopefully make sense and drive home the point. So you can see here, this should hit, this should be like a corrosion effect, and you can see here we are timing it just right, and of course we've avoided it pretty nicely. That should be quite clear. The next example is at 43, so you can just sort of skip forward. I think this should be like a paw attack or something. Oh, okay, this is from behind. So you can see I'm just like giving you his point of view just from behind, and there is the slash, and then we're going to dash. You can see here, frame by frame, no cheating. There we go, and we got it out. And of course the second, because we're forward, we've avoided the AoE of the second attack. At 52 is the next one. By the way, I'm also going to show this with the Raiden Shogun, Klee and Kokomi as well. So you can also see this then on different character models and on a different terrain as well, because this terrain's a bit slanted, but I'll show you a flat terrain as well. You can see here, very successfully avoided it. Let's just go in slow motion and attack, and there we go. So this, in my opinion, I don't know if someone wants to argue, but I mean, this is pretty close on a frame by frame count, that this is indeed invulnerability frames. And I've got a couple of these, so if you're ever interested in like the raw video and stuff, we can always like go through it. But for the majority of it, I think it sort of drives home the point. Let's skip this to this one here, which is multiples at 621. Right, so basically, so sometimes I like miss and then I had to like heal up, and I generally want to do this when he is not frozen or like he doesn't have like the wet status applied, and whenever like I've also got no statuses applied as well, because I think that like shows it the fairest. I must just say, by the way, Kokomi is like really awesome to have like against him if you fail. Right, so let's see. Against this attack, we avoid once. And then I'm just going to play it again on a frame by frame count. We avoid it twice. And then once more. You can see it right before he hits us, we go and dive underground, and we can sort of avoid it. And I think here is also going to be another one. Yep, right there. So I'm just going to slow it down again. You can see here. So it's not like we're trying to avoid him by dodging left or right. You can see we're more or less like at the same place still. So I don't know. If this doesn't count as an invulnerability frame, I don't know what is. I don't know what your standards might be. I did promise like this with the Raiden Shogun, so let's just see a couple of examples. You can see it's the same, like right here. And you can follow along here, right at the bottom right and left-hand corner. There's like the frame by frame count. You can see here very clearly. I mean, if this counts as an invulnerability frame, so you can avoid And by iframe dodging, you can avoid the attacks. That's pretty cool. So there's lots of examples of this working. And let's just see here, I'm just sort of skipping it like frame by frame now, and we should avoid this one. You can see I'm avoiding just as that wind up animation comes, so that would be generally a good telltale sign for you, like when his claws like out. And I think we're going to miss this one by like a slight bit. Yeah, there you go. So this is like sort of the point that I needed to start my animation, but I didn't, so I was slightly late, and there you go. Boom, we got hit. And then despite the fact that you can see we're late with our sort of dodging, and then we got hit, and then the corrosion applies to us. Let's just skip forward a bit when the corrosion is off and get a couple of other like examples. I think it's good just to sort of show this in a different environment, different terrain. I think the terrain's flat. Okay, he's just teleporting. That means he's typically going to be roughly like behind us and trying to hit us with the tail. I don't think that doesn't count like as anything. And now we're going to wait for the next one. So you can see I'm trying my best to just sort of stand still, and whenever I do like an iframe, I generally try to dash forward, so it's just like right mouse click. That's just to make this as fair as possible. And there you go, we should then, we're like literally dashing into him. You can see he's sort of, he's pushing our character model out of the way in a certain sense. So that to me by itself is like conclusive evidence that you can iframe corrosion effects. So yeah, and that is like typically what I wanted to show. So I just want to see if there's an example. Okay, this was a bad example. And here's Klee. Okay, yeah. So you can see here with Klee, he's now going to attack us. And we're going to go into our elemental burst. There we go. And while we're in our elemental burst, we do not get the sort of, we avoid taking damage, but of course the corrosion effect can still apply. So there's clearly a difference between iframing with your elemental burst and then iframing like as in using dodging. So I'm still so happy that they kept the dodge mechanic. That is really quite awesome. And I think there should be an example here. I've got like many Raiden Shogun ones. If you want the raw footage, I can send it to you, so you can also do a frame by frame count. And I think here we're just sort of letting him reset his health. And let's just see with Kokomi. Let's see if we can get an example of a different character model as well, so that it's not like, so we're not accused of being biased. So we're standing still and waiting for it, and here he comes, and we're going to dash right into him. Not quite into him, but it's alright. And as you see, a second example. And here it should be. So you can see as a guide, like once he's got that claw up, you want to press dash, and then you should be able to like avoid it successfully. Okay, and this one we're just like out of it. The final one that you see, I think I've got like a Klee one here as well. Yeah, there it is. Here's a Klee one. And I think this is again a very good example of like sort of demonstrating the iframe, because you can see here we're dodging straight forward, but his character model is sort of pushing us backwards during our invulnerability frame, and then we can obviously immediately attack afterwards. So yeah, that's it guys. That's sort of what I wanted to show. And then as a bit of a bonus, I just want to sort of show the jellyfish AoE on Kokomi. So if you've been sticking around, then this will be a nice bonus. This is at 302. Let's go to 302 right here. A very interesting thing about the Kokomi's jellyfish is you can see how far he is and the jellyfish is. And I'm just going to quickly skip forward. You can see there's like a massive distance between the two, but the jellyfish still ticks. You can see there's the little tick and it hits him. So the jellyfish has got a much larger AoE than I think people give it credit for. And I think that's why it's not really necessary for the jellyfish to move around. You'll see here we are going to just slightly move. So you can see the enemy was like right here or somewhere like in this region, but the jellyfish is here. And despite the indicator saying, you know, we're only here, we actually sort of hit him. Pretty cool in my opinion. But yeah, that's it for iframing. Practice it and you will get really good, and then you don't even need a healer. Cheers.